What is going on, everyone? Luca Rosano here, back with another video. Hope you're all doing well. Appreciate you guys tuning in to another one of these videos. If you can kindly drop a like and please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 26K before the end of the year. A daunting task. We're about 600 subs away, so hopefully we can hit that. And you guys can help me do that by hitting a like, subscribing, and sharing this video and spreading the word. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about Myles Turner. It's been a hot topic the last couple of days. Myles Turner and Domantas Sabonis' name continues to come up in a lot of trade rumors, trade conversation. That's because the Indiana Pacers are expected to head towards a rebuild, and they could move one of these players, if not both. So I came across a couple of interesting trades that I wanted to get into. But before we get into that part of the video, it's clear that the Raptors need to address their center position. I mean, since losing both Ibaka and Marc Gasol, the center position has not been the same for this team. And you look at this season, Ken Birch has been out, no timetable of when he's going to come back along with OG, and Precious Achiuwa has now missed some time. So I know the Raptors did sneak out a win against the Knicks, but not having a true center is going to catch up with this team. And then I read an article from Josh Lewenberg, and he wrote that the Raptors have had their eyes on both of Indiana's bigs for years. So then it just made sense to look into possible trades that could come to fruition. And if I did have to choose one over the other of somebody who I think is going to get traded, it's going to be Myles Turner. I think the Indiana Pacers are not going to trade both. I can see them keeping one. And I do see them trading Myles Turner because you look at Turner, he went on record to say not too long ago, it's clear that I'm not valued as anything more than a glorified role player here. And I want something more. And he said this to the Athletics' Jared Weiss. So I think the Indiana Pacers will move Myles Turner. There are a couple of teams that could use a Myles Turner. You look at Turner, guys. He's still only 25 years old. He's a solid center. And I do believe he's capable of much more than when he showed us in Indiana. I think Indiana just is not a good fit for him anymore. And this whole experiment with he and Domantas Sabonis playing alongside each other, it's not working. So then I stumbled across an interesting article. And this is from Aaron Rose of Sports Illustrated. And he actually got together with All Pacers reporter Ben Steiner. I hope I'm saying his name right. And they went back and forth in an article hypothesizing 3 trades. And I'll put the link to the article down below so you can read it in its entirety. But basically, they put out trades and they went back and forth on if the guy would do it or not. So we're going to first start with one option that they proposed, and it's the Pascal Siakam option. So here's the trade. Pascal Siakam and Malachi Flynn for Myles Turner, Justin Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb. So this is a big one because are the Raptors really willing to part ways with Siakam, who would be the best player in this deal? I don't know if the Raptors would be willing to part ways with Siakam, especially since, let's call it for what it is, since coming back, he's put up some nice numbers. I know he had an off night against the Knicks, but he's put up some pretty good numbers. So I don't think the Raptors are going to trade away Siakam. So for this reason, I'm out. I feel like I'm on Shark Tank. Next option they brought up, the Gary Trent Jr. option. So the trade is Gary Trent Jr., Chris Boucher, Isaac Bonga, and a lottery-protected first-round pick for Myles Turner and Justin Holiday. So I do think if a trade realistically goes down, it would have to include Gary Trent Jr. because Indiana, if they are headed for a full-blown rebuild, they're interested in 2 things: young assets and picks. So you look at Gary Trent Jr., he's only 22 years old, and he's just scraping the surface. That's a guy who I can see Indiana be very interested in. But are you really willing to give up Gary Trent Jr. and all the progressions he's made so far and what he can become for Myles Turner? That's a tough decision to make. Chris Boucher obviously has been very inconsistent. Isaac Bonga, been a non-factor. And then you are giving up the lottery-protected first-round pick. At least it's protected. But the big throwaway here is Gary Trent Jr. I'm not too sure I'd be willing to part ways with Gary Trent Jr., especially since he's shown that he can be the Raptors' best pure scorer. I mean, not only that, he has been the Raptors' best defender, especially with OG gone. We're really seeing how good of a defender Gary Trent Jr. is. He has been incredible. So that would be tough to give up Gary Trent Jr. to get Myles Turner. But sometimes when you got to get something you need, you got to give up a valuable asset. And by the way, what I didn't mention before going over these trades, I think the untouchables in all of this are OG Anunoby, Scottie Barnes, and Fred VanVleet. So there's a reason why neither of these three players are going to be brought up in any of these trades. I think those are the three untouchables on this Raptors team. Okay, now let's go over the last one and the one that I view the most interesting. But before we do just that, I do want to announce that today's video is sponsored by Manscaped, the leading men's hygiene brand. It's time to leave your significant other some cookies and milk at the bottom of your chimney, and I'm talking about the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Yes, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver and a ball deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. And they also just launched their new 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, which has key ingredients with benefits that include hydrating, nutritioning, conditioning the scalp, plus strengthening your hair at the same time. 'Tis the season to load up on Manscaped products, so get yourself, your dad, your brother, and your friends the best gift of all, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Every guy out there needs to add Manscaped to their wish list this holiday season, so you can get 20% off any of Manscaped's products by going on over to manscaped.com. Use my promo code Luca3 for 20% off plus free shipping. That's promo code Luca3 for 20% off plus free shipping. Okay, so the last trade here, it's the Malachi Flynn and first round pick option. So it's Goran Dragic, Malachi Flynn, and a protected first round pick for Myles Turner, Brad Wanamaker, and Martin. So basically, what a protected first round pick means is that if the draft pick ends up being in the top 5 in the draft lottery, the Raptors were to keep that pick and they would have to give up their next year's pick to Indiana. So that's important because let's just say the Raptors fall and they do end up in the lottery again and they get a top 5 pick, they keep it. That's what unprotected means. They would have to give up their following draft pick to Indiana. And in this trade, you're not parting ways with Siakam, you're not parting ways with Gary Trent Jr., and you're parting ways with Goran Dragic, who's going to be on his way out at some point anyway, and Malachi Flynn, who has not lived up to expectations. So this is the one that if Indiana were willing to do it, I don't know if they would be, but if they were, and there was a chance for that, this is the one that I would go with rather than the other ones mentioned. So those are the 3 trades they speculated. Let's see how the Raptors look, right? People keep asking me, Luca, should they blow this thing up? Should they go towards a full-on tank mode or rebuild, whatever you want to call it? I said, let's wait it out. Let's see how December goes. Let's see how January goes. And as we get closer to that trade deadline, then that's when we'll reevaluate this team, especially if the Raptors can get fortunate enough and have some key guys come back like an OG and a Kem Birch. And this is what Mark Stein said about the Raptors possibly going after either Myles Turner or Domantas Sabonis. He was on Sportsnet and he said this, which was pretty interesting, and I noted it here. He says that the Raptors are not a ready-made team and they're not just a center away from contention, which is true. Says his instinct is that they're more likely to take the longer-term view here. He doesn't know if the Raptors do any of these deals because he feels that the Raptors are not one player away. And the Pacers feel like they're going to trade Turner or Sabonis, and in return, they're going to get a big haul. So maybe that haul is not something the Raptors can come up with. So in conclusion here, and to give you my take on this whole rumor mill, I do not think the Raptors are going to make a trade here for Sabonis or even Myles Turner, who would be the better fit in my opinion. I do think the Raptors are going to continue playing the long-term game, and they're going to go through the growing pains, they're going to go through the developmental timeline, and they will see what they got at the end of the season. I don't think Masai is going to make too drastic of a move. The only move I see happening between now and the end of the season, and it's one that I've said many times, is Goran Dragic. Whether it's a trade or buyout, That's the real big move I see happening. I don't think anything drastic or any big move is in the cards for the Raptors this season. That's just my personal opinion and my personal take. So that's it, guys. Wanted to come to you with a video. What do you think of these trades? What do you think the Raptors ultimately do here? Do you think they go for it or they just stay put? Let me know your comments down below. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Again, help me hit 26K. You can spread the word. This is a channel where I talk about the Raptors and NBA, and I really appreciate those of you who watch this channel on a daily. I'm dropping content daily, so if you guys can support me, that would be awesome. Drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you all again in the next one. Raptors take on the Kings on Monday. We'll see how they look in that game. Peace out.